especially perfect for, I call it after party, but basically the networking session after the event, the last 30 minutes. It is the beginning of our event. Everyone, please be aware we are broadcasting on Twitter, on LinkedIn. You can come to the Evenus channel on both and see the link and share it with your audience. Without any further ado, I will start. The music is off, fantastic. So hello everyone, thank you for coming to our Decentralized series. Today is a great event. It is on the crypto economy and decentralized finance. I would say it's one of the hottest topics that we could think of because everything is changing, economy is changing, decentralization takes place, blockchain, oh, love blockchain, and crypto. Eventually it will make us all rich, or we build on crypto and blockchain, or we'll just invest in those tokens and crypto coins. But hey, if you don't have any knowledge about it, don't worry. Today we're going to cover everything that's most important. And I am absolutely honored to welcome you all here. Let me just make a quick introduction. I'm Eve, the founder of Evenus, together with my team who is here as well. We are on the mission to democratize frontier technology, to spotlight edutainment, as we call it. It's where education and entertainment come together, and also to share joy, knowledge, and fun with our community and like-minded individuals, and the newcomers, the beginners in the field of technology. So without any delays, because you're here not to listen to me, but to learn from our epic lineup of speakers, from our keynote speakers, from our panelists, I would like to introduce you to, as I call it, one and only, because there is no replica to this person. So let me introduce you to our keynote speaker, who is Dr. Martin Hiesboeck. He is the head of blockchain and crypto research at Uphold, Inc. Uphold, if you don't know, is a multi-asset digital money platform offering financial services to a global market. Dr. Hiesboeck's focus is on the future of blockchain, CBDCs, payment systems, the metaverse, and societal impact of blockchain innovation, which I find personally very important. And he's also the host of Crypto Update series that I would recommend you following. Just subscribe to Uphold channel or his own profile, follow him on LinkedIn or Twitter, and learn from Dr. Martin Hiesboeck. But hey, we don't need to just wait for that opportunity. The opportunity is here today. And Dr. Martin, please take the stage. I am very thrilled to have you here with us today. We'll exchange the spots. All righty. Okay. You can rotate your avatar with Q and E to see Dr. Hiesboeck. Well, so the letter Q you need to hold, and then you would kind of face Dr. Hiesboeck. You can have your camera on, off, and you can do the moves, of course, Marc. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eve. I'm so excited to be here. I have to admit that even though I'm doing a lot of research into blockchains and DeFi and the metaverse, this is actually my first ever conference in the metaverse. And it is happening on your platform. It's not happening in Decentralized and in Decentraland or in the sandbox. It is happening here. That makes me even more proud to be here. Thank you very much for having me. My work at Uphold involves researching not just the current state of where we are in crypto and in blockchain, but also the future of blockchain. I got into the whole space 10 years ago from an entirely technical, non-developer, non-financial angle. My first job was to analyze what blockchain could do for the world. Somehow, at that point, we talked about insurance, food traceability, smart factories, smart manufacturing. the benefits of a blockchain solution for many technical problems. And nobody talked about cryptocurrencies. And we now live, after 2017, in an entirely unreal world where projects that involve industrial automation, artificial intelligence, genomics, robotics, all applications in the tech sector that have very good blockchain use cases being all lumped together under the name cryptocurrencies. I think at my team at Uphold, we think this is entirely wrong. There are tokens, there are aspects that are financial, and there are ones that have absolutely nothing to do with the world of finance and are real technical solutions. It is a shame that because they're all run on a blockchain, they somehow became crypto financial assets. I think we need a new terminology for crypto. I think we need an entirely new vocabulary to talk about crypto as we move into the real economy. This year has been very dramatic, especially for decentralized finance. We thought around this time last year that decentralized finance is the future of finance. We were pulled back to reality multiple times. I produce a weekly newsletter for institutional investors. And in that we track hacks on DeFi protocols. And in these hacks, we have discovered in the first quarter of the year that over $1.3 billion were stolen from DeFi protocols. And right after these warning signs emerged, we had one of the most overhyped projects that came out to promise us an entirely new financial system, completely collapse within minutes, hours, and the repercussions of the Luna token collapse are still going on. Far be it from me to comment on what really happened in the Luna event, but what it shows is that many of these hyped projects have no base in reality. They don't have governance boards. They don't have an understanding of how their utility has to plug into the real economy. And ultimately, any company only has a future if it solves real life problems. DeFi as an experiment, NFTs as an art collection of silly comic drawings have no place as a part of an economic solution, as a technological solution. They're very fun, they're very profitable for some players, they are disastrous for others. We think of blockchain as a trustless and immutable form of a database that will change the world. What we forget in our enthusiasm for crypto and DeFi is that behind all these computer screens and behind every blockchain, behind every DeFi protocol, there are real people. We tend to do the same thing that we did with the internet. In the 1990s, there were hundreds of websites that would sell you dog food or baby diapers. 10 years later, we were all buying them on Amazon. Right now, we have 1,000 utility tokens out there, all of them thinking they reinvented the wheel, that they are the best things in sliced bread. Many of them will disappear. I think this year, 2022, is a watershed year in the development of decentralized finance. What we need to look at going forward is all summed up in one single word, and this is education. We need to educate the next generation of players in the financial world. We need to educate children and students at universities. We need to educate regulators, bankers, politicians. We are currently in a situation where the people in power, the elected representatives in our governments, are asked to regulate a technology and a financial space that they do not understand. We have discussions about Bitcoin mining usage and DeFi protocols and DAOs, the legality of DAOs and the functionality of governance in DAOs. Discussions led by people who do not understand what decentralized really means. For the vast majority of people out there, the word decentralized does not have any meaning. They don't understand a system, a company, a project that does not have a person who takes responsibility for the success and the failure of a project. I think going forward, and this is why I'm very proud to be here with you, Yves, and all of you in this space, because we need to start with the ideal of decentralization being just an ideal. We need to make it a reality. And the only way we can prove that decentralization is the future of the economy, that blockchain is a viable solution for our economic activities. For that, we need to educate everyone, from children in school to senior politicians in committees, to governments, to presidents, to bankers, to central banks. In order for this project of crypto and blockchain to succeed, we need to rearrange, we need to educate an entire society about a technology that most of them still know very little about. When they say in crypto, it's very early, it is very early, but it's never too late. If anything, this year, 2022, is giving us the opportunity to start from scratch and say, we have made mistakes, many projects have gone bust, many more may. Some of these technologies that we believed in fervently may not go anywhere. New players will emerge. When the hype of the internet in the late 1990s happened, nobody saw Google and Facebook coming. I have no idea what the crypto and blockchain space will look like in 10 years, but it is part of my work at Uphold to educate. And I think it's part of all of our responsibilities to offer objective, informed opinions rather than simply shilling and hyping your next favorite token. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's tap on that C button to clap or Y to show thumbs up. Dr. Martin, that was amazing. Thank you. A very realistic approach. I do appreciate your sincerity sharing this with us because it's super optimistic and saying like everything is there, don't worry. Let me just rotate myself. But hey, the truth is, indeed, it is quite in the beginning. We are at the forefront of innovation and we are the game changers. So I'm very proud to be surrounded with people like yourself who are to build, to create, to implement, to challenge the status quo, and to show a better way forward for our technology to become more sustainable, more diverse, and at the same time inclusive. So thank you once again, Dr. Martin Hiesboeck. And now it's my pleasure to introduce you to our panel host, who is incredible in what he does. So let me introduce you to Jacob Boersma, who is coming next to me right now. He is an expert in blockchain technology, information security, density, cryptocurrencies, e-signatures, and e-payment areas. He's the founder of WBNoDE and famous, I say it because I know, I'm from the Netherlands. He is famous CryptoCast podcast co-host. You can follow him on BNR Nieuwsradio if you find that station and the recordings from the past and the new ones. He also serves as independent consultant and a member of expert panels at EU Blockchain Observatory and Forum, Dutch Blockchain Coalition, UNDP, and Cryptocurrency Exchange. Well, I will rotate my avatar to you, Jacob, because wow, what a profile. Make sure you unmute now because the stage is yours. Thank you.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Always. Thank you. Thanks a lot for for that very yeah, a very complimentary summary of my entire career, I think. So I'll do my best to do it justice. My role as an expert in all these fields. I always feel a bit. There's a lot of imposter syndrome that always pops up in cases like this, because I'm sure there's a lot of people here in the room that also know a lot about many of the topics. Thank you very much also to Dr. Hiesboeck for his keynote presentation. I totally agree with a number of things that both Yves and Martin said. I think there's a lot happening in the crypto and the decentralized finance space, and definitely not all of it is positive. I think there's absolutely the case that the real use cases are starting to be separated from all these kind of scams and get rich quick schemes that we see. I agree with Dr. Hiesboeck that there's a lot of useless tokens going out there. I also, I hate to break it to you, but I don't think that that crypto is going to make everybody rich. At least not in the way that many of these crypto bros are really hoping for. I do think that there's a lot of absolute value and potential in the technology and in the application of cryptocurrencies and of decentralized finance. Not in the least to for example, help bank people who are currently unbanked, even though that is a lot more difficult probably than many of us would make it out to be. It's very often it's not a technical problem, but it is a business problem. It is a legal problem. I definitely liked the idea of Dr. Martin that we need a new terminology to really address these topics. I really hope that we also find a new term for example, for NFTs, because I think it's a absolutely cumbersome term that really doesn't explain a lot. I think it's always very bad if you have to give something a name with a negative, so it's a non-fungible token. Okay, but what is it that what you've told me what it isn't, but you haven't really told me what it is. And of course, yes, the regulatory pressures are really starting to emerge. I think that's also in some sense a good thing, because I think there's definitely something that to be taken from the Luna and UST debacle, that you can see that a bit more regulation on these kind of things might actually be a good thing. I agree that we need to educate bankers and regulators there, but I also think, and I've actually witnessed this in my own work, that the levels of knowledge there and also within people in governments are definitely increasing a lot faster than they are in the general public. And I think the general public still not really understanding crypto and DeFi is definitely also a risk, because it leaves them open for all kinds of scams. I've been involved in risk management at a large cryptocurrency broker, and one of the big things you see there is that even if you want to be honest as a crypto broker, you often will be in some way involved in all kinds of criminal activity, because those who are dishonest will try to use your name and good reputation to scam other people out of their hard-earned money. So I really hope that that we as a community can improve on that. And with that being said, I really want to also invite some of the other people here to the stage who can definitely also say some more about how we can improve and further develop the crypto and DeFi community, and hopefully also say some words about how they see this education effort on blockchain, crypto, and decentralization that Dr. Hiesboeck so elegantly mentioned. So without further ado, I'd like to also call to the stage Tavonia Evans, the founder of Guapcoin and Block for Hire.
Hi, everyone.
And I won't do the same thing as Eve and already introduce your entire life story, because I would really like to hear that from you yourself. But first, let me also invite to the stage Elgin Bayramov, CFO of Swap and UBOID.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. And finally, Marc Taverner, the Executive Director of INATBA, the International Association of Trusted Blockchain Applications. Yeah, Marc and I already know each other because I'm also a member of one of the INATBA working groups actually. But I won't I won't spoil his introduction by saying too much about that. Sorry.
Fred, Betting on the stage. Could you please come closer to me, a little bit backwards? Arrow down, just to move your avatar backwards a little bit. I see someone with the name Red. If you could come a little bit closer to, yeah, okay. I see that our camera woman moved closer, so we can see you all very well. Jacob, please proceed. Apologies for this interruption.
Yes, thank you. So, as I said, I would like to definitely give everybody the chance to introduce themselves. Please briefly introduce yourself and also let us know what location you're actually joining us from. Yeah, so I will start with Tavonia because I think everybody, Dr. Martin has already had the first word in this meetup. Tavonia, please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tavonia Evans, and I'm coming to you right now from Georgia in the U.S. I have pretty much been in the tech space for a few decades now. I was introduced to Bitcoin in the early days, and like everybody else who totally ignored it, I totally ignored it. One of my great friends came to me and was like, this is something that you really need to be into. And he knows me. And he was right, but he was just a little early. It wasn't until a little bit later on in 2014 when I started my first official startup. And I had difficulties raising capital, and I found out how women, traditionally don't raise a lot of VC capital, and Black women raise even less than a percentage point. So it was very difficult for me to raise capital for my project. And I looked around, saw some other projects of some of my colleagues, and saw that they were using crypto to actually raise money for their projects. So crypto took on a whole new meaning for me at that point. That's when I realized that it was money. Earlier on, it didn't quite click to me, like many people and many of my peers, that it was money. And I realized at that point that my particular community could benefit from just the financial aspect of it, and the opportunity to be able to raise capital in our communities, and to also track the circulation of money within our communities, which blockchain could do. And that's when I kind of gave birth to Guapcoin around 2016, the end of 2016. 2017, we officially launched. And since then, I've been working in the blockchain space, of course, still working with Guapcoin, teaching decentralization and all of the principles of community, and how community really is important in blockchain. And then moving on, of course, to the metaverse, which I've been involved in the metaverse for years as well. And currently working on developing my own metaverse as well. This is like my life. So finally, the things that I like to do on my geeky off days are now the everyday activity of most people in this space. So I feel quite at home here, and really excited about some of the things that we're now able to do.
Thank you very much for this very interesting introduction, very detailed. Elgin or Elgin, I hope I pronounced that correctly.
No, you're right.
Please also could you introduce yourself and describe a little bit of your journey into crypto.
Yes, thank you very much, Jacob. Happy to be here. Hello, everyone. I'm Elchin Bayramov, and I'm joining from the Orange County, California, United States. And currently, I'm CFO at Swap, where we're building the self-sovereign ID platform, where we trying to give the people basically to control their data if they want to be private or sell their data, because of the current situation is like all our data are sold by big companies. And in addition to my job as a CFO, I'm also advisor, independent advisor, and the consultant, and the multiple projects where I'm helping teams to build and apply the blockchain technologies into the real world, and bringing utility. And I'm CPA. I'm previously worked at Ernst & Young for 13+ years, and I was a assurance senior manager there, serving the both public and private clients. And while looking at it, it's really tough to sometimes to come from traditional finance and jump into crypto, where you have that technology and the entrepreneurial mindset, and I last several years I was able to to get all this, enjoy all this new technology, and learn about the crypto more and more. What I agree with all you said, especially with the education side of things. I am sometimes getting disappointed that when people talk about crypto, it's always about the investment or get rich quick and all that stuff. But I always looked at the more of it technology wise, how technology the blockchain brings can solve real world problems, and basically shift power from the central organizations to the retail or individuals. So that was always in my mind, and that was my that what brought me to crypto. That's like, okay, this is something that's like changing and making good for the world. And from my personal life, I'm married, I have 2 kids, and in my free times, I like photography. I like the outdoors life, hiking, camping. And if I have more time, I would do woodworking in my garage. Just would enjoy time there. That's me.
Thanks. Thank you, and thanks for the applause. Very, very well deserved. Then Marc, Taverner, your introduction and about yourself and your journey into crypto.
Thank you, Jacob, and good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody. My journey into crypto started with a phone call, actually, from one of the founders of what was one of the largest mining companies in the world. And the opening line, famously, will be in my memory forever. He opened with, "Do you know about Bitcoin?" And from that moment, I was hooked. Of course, I knew about it. But that was 2013. And of course, mining was what this company did the most of. And I learned a huge amount about mining, chip design, how to engineer semiconductors, bring them to market, how to spot renewable energy opportunities, and what the energy global market for energy was like, and what the data center marketplace was like, and how to build more energy efficient data centers. But the thing that really grabbed my attention, in fact, there were 3 of them. The first one was a recognition that suddenly, using cryptocurrency, we could take a unit of some value, transfer it into something which could be transported over the internet from one place to another. And by that, what I mean is we were building solutions that would allow us to take the excess energy production from renewable energy sources that otherwise the energy companies would need to pay to get rid of, by squirting the energy down through a rod in the ground into the earth, have to pay the local government to do that. Instead of needing to waste that energy when they had surplus energy, We dropped shipping containers full of mining equipment, and they routed that surplus energy over the mining equipment and produced a Bitcoin. And that Bitcoin then had a unit of value. So it took a unit of electricity that was surplus to requirement and would cost them money to get rid of. And they were able to turn it into a unit of something else, a Bitcoin or a part of a Bitcoin, and then make a decision based on their treasury function as to what they would do with that. But it meant they could keep it. They could choose to liquidate it, or they could use it to invest in more equipment or buy something that they wanted to buy. So that for me was a real watershed moment, because suddenly I saw an opportunity where you could take units of some value, convert it into something, and this new something, Bitcoin, could be finally transported from one place to another and leave the place where it was at and arrive at the next place over the internet without needing any other form of, any other mechanism of transfer. The second aha moment was when we were looking as this company, and the company's called Bitfury, we were looking to build applications that would prove the value of blockchain technology. And we stumbled across Georgia, not the Georgia in the US, but the Republic of Georgia, the country. And they were looking to modernize their land registry system. And the reason they were looking to do this was because they understood that land and houses were oftentimes the most valuable assets that their citizens had. And they were a little concerned because of geopolitical observations that if there wasn't a way for citizens to irrevocably prove that they were the owners of those assets, should a geopolitical situation emerge and the land borders change, it'd be very hard at some point in the future for citizens to be able to prove that they were owners of assets, particularly if they were taken from them under force and perhaps the records were destroyed. So we used the blockchain to digitize the land registry process, putting it on the Bitcoin blockchain at the time. And that gave the citizens some sort of comfort that should the worst case scenario arrive, they would have an irrevocable record, a proof of ownership, if you will. And then the third application that really got my imagination was when we were working on a case study for digital rights management in the music industry. And what we were trying to address was the problem that so much of the music industry and its digital rights management is inefficient. And by inefficient, what I mean is that the funds that should flow through the sale of a music product, in fact, get held up simply because the distribution companies have no record oftentimes of what percentage of that income should flow in what order to which artists who are involved in the production of that music. And as well as that, there's a huge amount of sometimes piracy, and exploitation of artists by some of the massive online platforms. So we were looking at how blockchain could use some of its inherent value points to automate and to make more transparent digital rights management. And this was the precursor to what has now become NFTs. And I do agree with the earlier speaker that NFTs is rather a cumbersome and misleading phrase for it. So all of these factors contributed to sparking, at least in my mind, a huge amount of interest and a desire to keep digging, they say, go down the wormhole and understand where this technology could be applied, not just to the concept of cryptocurrency and getting rich. And just in full disclosure, Jacob, I should mention that I'm no longer the executive director of INATBA, which is a very large trade association looking after 170 members around the world. As of the end of May, I have left INATBA to focus on investing in projects in the blockchain space.
Okay, well, good to know. Yeah, I probably looked at your background a few days ago, so I missed that update to your profile, Marc. But good for you. Thanks all for your introductions. Dr. Hiesboeck, I realized I didn't go specifically into your journey into Bitcoin and crypto story, but let me ask you also. Beside asking you also that, if you want to share it, what is your view on the decentralized finance space specifically? because I think this is it's something that's probably also very misunderstood as a part of the crypto and the blockchain space. Where do you see that that going? What is your definition even of decentralized finance, and where do you see it going in the coming years?
Thank you. My journey into crypto, just one funny sentence. I was a speaker at the first ever blockchain conference in Hong Kong, invited to represent European tech funds, support programs of the European Union for foreign investment in Europe. And I put together a presentation about the possibilities of what we could do with Bitcoin. And the organizers had forgotten to give me allocate a speaker's fee, and they were very apologetic. And I told them I can't even take a speaker's fee because I'm a quasi diplomat. And they said, well, we're going to give you some Bitcoin, but take that as a speaker's fee. Make sure you sell them because it's not going to go anywhere. That's how I got into crypto, by someone giving me speaking fees instead of fiat currency in Bitcoin. My observation with DeFi is, I keep repeating this because I try to understand how crypto and and blockchain fits into real people's lives. There are so many opportunities we have with crypto. And it's so easy to build projects and to code that there is a plethora of projects out there, from Save the Ocean to NFTs for wildlife photography, for digital wallet for homeless people. My research team and I go through hundreds of projects every month and look at them for the viability and their raison d'etre. But ultimately, most of them are so enthralled with their own technical prowess that they tend to forget the basic tenets of competitive advantage. So I think every single crypto project that I've ever talked to did not offer me, for example, a competitor analysis. So they get into this because it's new and they know how to code, but they forget that the competitors come from all different spaces. It takes one move from Apple and Google and Facebook to destroy hundreds of crypto projects out there. And many of them think themselves they invented the next form of stable coin, and it turns out it's just yet another iteration of exactly the same project. This is the Wild West of crypto, and the ideal of decentralization is all very, very well. I really support this, and I think it is in some way the right way to look at a fair economy, a fair global economy. But there's very few people who entrust their life savings to an overhyped stablecoin project from an upstart cocky Korean man. Most of them will go to their local bank and trust Hans, the banker, and I know where he lives, and he will give me a loan to finance my project. The percentage of people understanding crypto and willing to use it at this point is so small. I'm personally involved, for example, in projects with in the healthcare sector. And speaking to the director of an insurance company or a healthcare provider and offering them a project that involves incentivization and tokenization of patient data and motivating them to exercise more and stuff, and using blockchain and crypto technology for that, is impossible, because many of these industries are full of the most conservative, risk-aware people, not averse, but risk-aware people in the world. Doctors and directors of hospitals go to them. These are people who read the daily press. In the daily press, they see Bitcoin is a scam. It destroys the economy. It destroys the planet. And yet here is a project that says, hey, doctor, you should put all your data, you should put all your patient data on the blockchain and reward your patients for exercising in Bitcoin. Crypto. So there is a huge disconnect between the majority of people and what we in crypto believe in. And this we have to solve with education.
Very, very strong. Thanks. So yeah, that's a very nice link, maybe also to Tavonia. I would really like to hear your thoughts on that, because you mentioned so much the community in which you are active. So how do you see the role of decentralized finance for these communities? And I think there's well, maybe I need to let you answer, but I would see opportunities there, but also definitely some potential risks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are a ton of opportunities, but this space suffers from a very, very bad PR problem. And I would say education problem as well, but when you have a lack of education and you combine it with bad PR, then you get a really bad situation. And I think the situation that you get is that we get these ebbs and flows where the space scales and then stops to a grinding halt, and then it's like, okay, what next? And then jumps on the next boat, and the next boat, and the next boat, and we don't get the solid, the stable systems that we'd all like to have, or at least most of us would like to have. And meanwhile, you have an audience of people who are not educated in as to what this is all about. Furthermore, there's a lack of education in finance and money in general. So then you add something that seems to appear like finance and money and offer financial products, and that makes it even more confusing. So, I travel around the community. I do teach. I actually teach crypto classes as well, and DeFi classes. And, just being able to confer this to people in a relatable manner tells me that a lot of money, a lot of support needs to go behind the institutions and the people who can do this. And it's not. And when I look at it like that, when I see that the capital is not going into the places that can actually make this and contribute to the mass adoption of these things, it just has me wonder what the motives are of people and really getting involved in this. You spend time on Twitter, you'll see a lot of altruistic statements and motives. Crypto will save the world, DeFi will save the world, Bitcoin will save the world, this, that, and the third. But there's very little effort in actually interacting with the world itself and educating them and exposing them to these things. So, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll kind of hear my beefs every day. Every day I beef a lot. and I get ticked off a little bit because it becomes a smoke and mirror thing for me. We love to talk about scams and this and that. And to be totally honest, I've seen scams from the very, very top to the very, very bottom. It's just how sophisticated the scam is. You have scams that are not very sophisticated. Then you have scams that are very sophisticated, and guess what? They don't look like scams, right? So that's a large chunk of this industry, unfortunately. So I veer away from the conversations about scams and stuff like that, because again, to me, to be totally honest, at this point, it could be about 95% a scam. It could start out with great intentions. People start out with great intentions. But then we kind of, even in the tech space, I guess you run up into people who have other intentions, but they have more power, or more say, or they have more money. So, so the people with good intentions may not actually ever really solidify it or bring it to the people who can actually take this somewhere where they really want to go. And that's the common people. How does this relate to the common people? So we're in an industry that is very unrelatable to common people. And that's why you got people like me here.
For sure. Yeah. So we've talked about education, but I think if if some of if there's bad actors out there, then maybe not all education that is provided. And I'm thinking about these YouTube channels about people educating you about what coins to invest in. And that might also
that's not
be the
educating.
best
That's
way
like
forward.
selling.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So do you see a role there for the regulators? Is there something that needs to be done there by regulators at a national level, or maybe even international level?
Yeah, well, regulation is absolutely necessary, of course. Over-regulation could be a problem, but regulation is necessary, and having people who can input their experience and knowledge into the process of regulation is also very important as well. I think that this is such an anonymous world now, in this space. And you're dealing with people who don't have a face, who don't have a name, you can't track anything. Well, to some degree, if you're just an average person. And some of us are not here for anonymity. Some of us are here to actually be able to take advantage of the resources that are there. And I think that at the end of the day, when you offer options that provide more security versus options that provide more anonymity, you may find that you're going to get more of, I guess, the mainstream people involved in this space. So I'm all for it to a degree, as long as there's right now we're looking at, in particularly the states, you're looking at people who have the power to regulate, but they don't have the education or awareness of this space. So that's a big problem.
Cool. So educate the regulators first, probably. I really want to also hear both from Marc and from Eltjen also their views on this. Let me see. I have Eltjen. I think you haven't spoken for the longest, so I'd like to give you your ability to respond to this as well, about your view on regulation. I mean, you are working in the crypto space now, and you used to work at EY, so one of the big four. I've also worked at Deloitte, so I know for sure that you're familiar with a lot of regulations, because like me, you probably had to do many trainings to educate yourself on all the accountancy standards. So I'm very interesting to hear your view on the need for regulation in the crypto space.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's really good question. I will start with the decentralized finance and how I see it. In order to understand it better, I would say that let's try to look at what it solves, right? What was one of the biggest factors that it came in my view, is that while looking at across the globe, not everybody has access to the banks, financial institutions. So you need to have something that's and I mean it's because it's like controlled by central organizations. Government has hand on it, and it became really, especially in the Africa and the Asia, you have really this problem where people cannot pay their bills, get the loans, and there are like discriminations. They have to just rely on the banks or like it's inefficient and restrictive. But with the decentralized finance, you can access, and independently, if you have internet, you can access to many, basically all of the products that banks can provide. Either it's a loan, either it's a deposit, either it's insurance, even all this type of operations that you can make at the bank. You can do a decentralized finance with basically keeping the funds in your wallet without any intermediaries that watching you what you have done, and plus basically it works 24/7. It's transaction goes basically in seconds, and you are not paying premium to intermediaries. Of course, there are gas fees, but this is something that's like a crypto world is working to make sure that it's, or there are like other solutions. There are layer 2 solutions that's like the gas fees are really small, and all of these factors is like while looking at it, it's so good. I mean, it's like a in a village in somewhere in Asia or in Europe, or where they don't have that access, they can now pay their bills. They can easily send money to across globe without somebody blocking it. They can send, or they can take the credit and buy houses. So all of this, while thinking about it, it has so much important role in the economy and the basically freedom of the individuals. Blockchain is powering this with the security and the trustless. So that's basically that's the innovation there and the real utility. And coming to regulators, of course, I agree with the education of the regulators, policymakers to make sure that they are on the same page. But also, I want to what sometimes I see that the crypto community is so against the regulators, and the regulators are taking the side more of a punishment side instead of the collaboration with the crypto. So basically, how I see this, in order to get this innovation further, to get the blockchain development further, we have to work together. You cannot have just the crypto community there, just talking about the independence, but without involvement of the other stakeholders. You cannot exist separately. So that's why I feel like there should be collaboration. There should be a shared work of, okay, how, of course, there probably will be compromise from the crypto community and the regulators and everybody, but hopefully that's for the better, basically that's how the the solutions that blockchain, we can reach that purpose of the blockchain, and crypto. So that's that's my view on the regulation, and they just need to collaborate and work together, and that's where after collaboration we can get this mass adoption and basically to get the reputation back, and that's my view.
Cool, thank you. I absolutely agree that collaboration is key. Although I do think that there's probably also limits to that, because at some point as a regulator you need to stop collaborating with people if you've determined that they're actually really breaking the rules, of course. But to create at least the rules, it's important to find a collaborative way of working, I think. Marc, I've left you for last on the regulatory part, but I know that you have a lot of experience with talking to regulators and lawmakers even. So your
sorry,
thoughts?
a little slow getting to the unmute button, and thank you for the question. Thank you for the. So look, regulators, have a very strong view on this. I think all regulators should be locked up in a huge house that's got padded with soft materials on the inside of it, and left alone. They can't hurt themselves and they can't hurt other people. No, I'm joking. I think the regulators and legislators play a hugely important role in all developing markets. And I want to draw our attention back to 2008. I'm not sure how many people in the room or listening to this across the web are old enough to remember 2008 and a gentleman called Bernie Madoff. Now, Bernie Madoff had nearly 5,000 clients who he misled and defrauded, the tune of $65 billion US. I'll say that again. 5,000 clients approximately, to the tune of nearly $65 billion US dollars fraud. And that's in a heavily regulated market where most participants, professional participants, had built up an understanding of how the market functions over decades, perhaps up to 50 years. So in a market where there's so much innovation, which is our market, the blockchain market, the crypto, the DeFi, whatever naming convention you want to give it, where things are moving so quickly, and there isn't that level of education, as a number of my fellow panelists have said, amongst citizens, amongst those who are being sold these opportunities to invest or participate in this new future, there is going to be confusion. There is going to be, sadly, a lot of people like Bernie Madoff. These are participants in our industry, and to a certain extent, we're responsible for these people as well, for not flushing them out. There are going to be some participants who want to deliberately defraud individuals for their own financial gain. And the role of regulators is really simply the first principles or fundamental principles of regulators. Number one, protect citizens. Number two, protect market integrity. And number three, to provide a degree of balance sheet protection in case something goes wrong, to try and make those people who suffer losses at least whole again. Now, if those three elements had been in place when Terra collapsed, I'm sure lots of the small investors who didn't have that level of education, but had some recourse and maybe could get some of their funds back, would think the regulator was a godsend to them. And to comment earlier, a slightly derogatory comment about the founder of the Terra project, if the regulator was able to and empowered to be able to charge them down and try and prevent them from doing the same thing again, we probably wouldn't have seen the project try and spin up again just 2 weeks later. So I think the role of regulators is hugely important in this space. However, they're doing a hard job, and they do have a job to do. That level of education is still not where it needs to be. And the industry and regulators try, by and large, from the work that I've been doing, I've done a lot of work, particularly with INATBA, in working with the European Commission, Parliament, and the Council. By and large, they want to learn about our industry, but there just aren't enough good sources. And when we do sit down around the table and you spend some time trying to translate the slightly different language that we use, you can understand that actually we're trying to say the same things. We're just using slightly different terms and thinking about things from a slightly different start point. And finally, just to wrap up, Jakob, sorry to go on for a long time, but I have quite a passion for what the regulators are doing and how we as INATBA have been trying to engage with regulators to give them evidence. Just finally, to wrap up on it, I think the role of regulation has a critical part to play in helping us reach a larger attainable market. Because if you look at MiCA, the Marketing Crypto Assets piece of regulation currently traveling through Parliament in Europe, one particular aspect of that I think is very positive. What it allows a project to do is to define the parameters within which that project can produce a white paper that intends to promote its project, sell its project to consumers. And as long as you don't go above €1 million, you have some quite broad tramlines, some quite broad parameters within which you can operate, still be an innovator, but raise up to $1 million with really nothing but a white paper and certain conditions that you have to meet to make sure that you are not misrepresenting the projects that you are setting up and trying to sell to citizens to get investment from them within. So I think that's a great example of where carefully thought through regulation that has good information coming from the industry can establish a framework that could open this marketplace up to a larger part of the population.
Thanks. Yeah, I fully agree on your comments there, and let's hope that we get regulation in place that if other people have this kind of same status of a fraudster as Bernie Madoff had, that they will also get the same comeuppance in the end. Because Madoff at least was sentenced to a jail sentence of like over 100 years. I have not seen that happen to a lot of people in the crypto fraud space.
Absolutely, yeah. 150 years in federal prison. If only some of the fraudsters and others have that, huh?
Even if they only had it like as a something that would be hovering over their head, if they didn't follow the rules, then it probably would have already helped a lot to make a lot of people more cautious. But well, let's hope that comes down the line. I'm also conscious of time, and I do want to open up the floor after this question to also questions from the audience, because I'm sure you have a lot to ask these quite interesting and very experienced people. But let's ask first also all our panelists. One of the strategies that is often employed in, or at least recommended in crypto, is HODL. The misspelling of hold originally on crypto Twitter, and sometimes said to mean hold on for dear life. So just if crypto is really volatile, hold on to your assets. Don't sell into a bear market, because you'll only increase your losses. But that's a very simplified advice, of course. But I'd like to know what your advice would be for those people looking to the crypto market, not just as investors, but also as looking at who are the solution providers that you think are really interested and should get more attention. Once again, I'd like to start with Tavonia.
I'm sorry, my thing bleeped out, so I kind of caught half your question. Yeah, I got.
What would your advice be to your community? Let me rephrase it a little bit then. What's your investment advice to your community?
Well,
should they invest in?
I don't give investment advice, but
very good answer. Very good answer.
My advice to my community is, number one, to get educated. First and foremost, there are, nowadays there are at least free entry points and classes that you can take to kind of expose you to everything that's going on. So don't do anything without getting a little bit of education first. Secondly, my suggestion would be to join a community project, right? And I say that before I say actually getting crypto, because back in the days, that's what we did. We joined projects first, right? We became a part of the community. And that gave us more comfort, that gave us more participation, and that was really the basis for what all of this is all about, right? It's all built around community. Nowadays, now that the masses are starting to pay attention, we now have very little or less attention paid to the actual community aspect of crypto, right? And that's the part that's getting lost. So I tell people, join a community, because what that's going to do is force them to do a little research, to find some communities that actually align with some of their principles and things like that, right? And then they're going to come in and they're going to meet other people, and they're going to feel a part of something. And none of these projects will survive without community. And that's something that needs to be kind of like beaten to the public. Like, community is important, because let's say you decide to buy a coin, but you don't, or you get into a coin and you don't join the community, and then that coin disappears, right? Well, maybe the coin disappeared not because it's a scam or a rug pull. Maybe it disappeared because of lack of community support. So let's say that it is a good project. The community, oftentimes back in the days, they took over projects where developers just couldn't take it to the next level. And that may happen with communities out there. They just may not be, quote unquote, a rug pull or a scam. They may need you. Actually, they absolutely do need you and need your support in order to be able to take these things forward. So those are first and foremost. And then the next thing I always tell them to do is to investigate getting a wallet. Get a wallet first, because we oftentimes, again, we get caught into the centralized system, and then we know nothing about what this whole thing is about. It's like mimicking a bank. Let me sign up to this exchange and give them all my information and get a bank account, buy some crypto, and and therefore you have learned nothing about what this is about. So go out there and get a true wallet, a non-custodial wallet preferred, where you can get your keys and stuff like that. And then, make your way into the ecosystem that way. And nowadays, a lot of wallets have ways of getting crypto from within the wallet. And have connections to other places. So these are ways where you can empower yourself more if you're going to get involved in this space.
Cool. Amazing advice. Thanks. I'm almost tempted to not ask any more advice from the other panelists, because I think this is something, getting involved in the community, joining projects and empowering yourself. I think if you take nothing away from this, dear audience, then please, if you take anything away, let it be this. But still, we do have other panelists. They do also have probably advice for you in. Maybe if it's not, maybe even not investment advice. Let's keep away from exposing ourselves to the regulators. But let me reformulate. What kind of general advice can you give to people interested in crypto, DeFi, and blockchain? Martin, Dr. Hiesboeck, can you give me? Hiesboeck, sorry. Can you give me your advice?
That's okay.
Not me, but the audience.
Everybody at the office calls me Crypto Martin, so don't worry.
Crypto Martin. That's your Twitter handle,
I have
right?
two colleagues who are called Martin, so we have to differentiate them ourselves. We all have the same first name. I do not shy away from giving perfect financial advice. My advice is don't be an idiot. What we do in investment in traditional stocks, if you're a good investor, you look at a company, you look at its basic value proposition, and you reevaluate that. You're not going to hold. The term hodl is just an excuse for laziness and being a bad trader. Human psychology teaches us that we have to be strong in times of adversity. So most people hold on to stocks while they fall and simply blurt out their conviction that we're going to get through this. I will hodl until it, whatever, This is not the right way to do an investment. To invest, look at what you're holding. Has the basic premise changed? Is the company worse off? That's why we have analysts. That's why we have earnings calls. That's why we have information and education. And we evaluate the stocks we are holding from quarter to quarter, from year to year. And I do exactly the same with crypto. Hodling just because, that's not a strategy. That's just plain laziness and idiocy. If the fundamentals of a product, of a company, of anything, if the fundamentals of your marriage change, you will consider getting a divorce or not. Anything in life has to be reevaluated on a current time frame, right? You don't just do something and then that's it. You're gonna hold this token forever. There's a reason why you invest, and the reasons might change over time. Just use your common sense. My perfect financial advice is use common sense.
Fortunately, common sense is not always that common, I'm afraid, but absolutely true.
Yeah, exactly. It's a perfect misnomer. It's like DAO.
Yeah, or smart contracts. Yeah.
DAO is neither decentralized nor autonomous, nor is it an organization. So why are they called DAOs, right?
Exactly. Elchin, your advice to those people watching and listening.
Yeah, for the investors, I think the first thing is doing the research. Don't just blindly invest on something, or just listening to friend, or just listening to hype that in Twitter going on, or in Telegram or whatever. You have to just first do your own research, look at the projects from different angles. Either it's okay, what's the utility, what they are trying to accomplish, what's the team, how their smart contract reviewed, and who is the auditor, and what's the token allocation, maybe they allocated 60% of the tokens to to the team, and the rest, and have they got any vesting schedule that that will make, if no vesting, it will just make the price of the token, if they dump all of the allocated tokens to him. So you need to look at these factors, analyze it before doing the investment. And also you can also involve in community, talk to those people to understand better if they are what actually they are doing, and if it's the solution is built. And the other advice would be just invest, especially in crypto, invest what you can afford to, so that it's not affecting your financial situation. It's if you lose the investment, it should be in an amount that it will not make you bankrupt. So that's the main advice to investors. But from the solutions builders perspective, the founders perspective, I'm calling them to be honest. I'm calling them to be fair, not to run to quick money or like getting rich. Instead, keep building the project, be passionate about it, and also the other thing that's like I feel like there is like lots of opportunities and noise in the industry that founders easily can be part of, and be overwhelmed while they are building their solutions. So they should be they need to figure out how to cut this noise and concentrate on the project that they're building. And the other thing that I would advise is just for the specifically the founders, mainly the executive teams of the solution providers, is like keep up the mental and physical health up. That's sometimes when you get this sleeping on in the office all the 24 hours, it's not the solution. It's just that you will become less efficient and less efficient each time. So basically you have to just, in order to get through to build something, you need to keep your health up, and you will get the efficiency from there.
Very true. Something that's quite often overlooked, I think. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We also, as a community, tend to really value people who work super hard, very long hours, but that might not always be the best idea for you in the long term. Marc, again, you get the last word on this. Your advice to crypto investors and crypto solution providers.
I'm going to assume that we're talking to an audience that's got, medium to low level of understanding. So the first piece of advice I would be giving is to go away and search this particular term, not your keys, not your coin. Understand why that phrase is important, and that should take you on a journey that will help you understand a few critical aspects of this marketplace. And the second piece of advice I would give is about the projects, whatever they may be. If you can't understand them, and if they're not dealing in a topic that almost obsesses you, not just interests you, but almost obsesses you, then it's not for you. And it's not for you either because the founders can't articulate it in a way that it will resonate with you or that it's clear to you. And if that's the case, they're going to struggle to create traction. Or if the use case, the application, or the raison d'etre of the project doesn't resonate with you, maybe it's about, I don't know, garden flowers, and you prefer to focus on sports cars. Go and focus on the thing that you can obsess about, because that will help you learn as much about the project as you can and follow it during those times where it's a little, hard to understand what's going on. So only spend time on things that you really give a damn about. And I would say the same with founders to participants in the marketplace. Forget about this desire and this false bravado in the market about everybody's getting rich, so you must too. Fundamental principles apply. Do something that you care about, do something that you can be obsessed about and inquisitive about, and do the very best you can at it. And then, funnily enough, the harder you work, the luckier you get, and your project will probably stand a better chance of being successful. Fundamental principles.
Great advice, Marc. Thanks. I have almost nothing to add to that. My own advice would also be very much in line with what everybody else has advised here. I would also say, just to add to that, focus also on worthwhile projects that are actually solving real world problems, and that can be either things that you are obsessed with, obviously, because then it's a real world problem for you. But otherwise, yeah, the big problems that we're facing, and I don't have to go into what those are because a lot of them are in the news quite often. But there are solutions being built for those, and I think those are really worthwhile. And those solutions won't be quick, but they will have a lasting impact. So I would recommend more people working on those problems and investing in them. Thank you to all my panelists, and thanks Yves very much for having us here. Unfortunately, I have to run to catch a train, but I will leave you in the capable hands of Yves to handle the Q&A going forward. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Have a safe trip, and thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. Yes, let's do the move. 4, 5,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
All right. Let's then, dear guests, please clap for our speakers, because they did a great job explaining everything for us today and providing advice how to be efficient in the decentralized finance and crypto economy world. I would like to open this floor for the questions from you. I know Ariana has a question. She reached out. Please do take the mic, the virtual mic, and ask a question, Ariana. And introduce yourself, of course. Thank you.
Thanks, Eve. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes, thanks so much, speakers. This was really interesting. I didn't know much about decentralized finance, so I've been learning a lot. And some specifically, I picked up on the importance of community and education as the key to a successful future for crypto. So I wanted to talk about, I wanted actually to ask you to talk about the realities of energy consumption within that mindset. How can we educate ourselves about the ways to work with this new technology, this new reality, without drastically reducing the time we have left with our current resources? I don't know if there are maybe eco-friendly alternatives. How realistic is that? Maybe specifically, Martin, I could ask you to start answering that, because you really did talk about the viability of projects, which I really appreciated. So
Sure.
I'd love to know more about that.
Sure, I can do that. I actually do have a webinar today that we're doing with some Bitcoin mining with a Bitcoin mining company and the head of Ripple. The whole mining debate has a fundamental problem. You can either frame it sandboxed and look at Bitcoin mining. Yes, it consumes energy, and yes, not all of that energy is green. Although about 68% of mining in the United States, for example, is already green mining. The thing is, if you compare it to the alternative, fiat currency, then the energy consumption of Bitcoin is negligible. If you add up all the waste that we take for granted by producing and printing fiat currency, banknotes and coins, and ship them and deliver them in truckloads around the country, around the nation, to banks and ATMs, the amount of work and labor of counting bills, all of that put together, every single person who works in a bank simply employed to handle the actual physical money, They have to get to work in a car. If you put all, and they have CO2 emissions, they have a CO2 footprint. If you put the entire footprint of fiat currency in this world on one side and the energy consumption of Bitcoin on the other, then Bitcoin is less than 1% of what the fiat economy takes. Unfortunately, this argument is completely, it's not accepted at all by the powers that be. They don't see that a mining operation can be compared to the rest of the economy. That said, Bitcoin is not the wherewithal. There are hundreds of chains from Stellar, from Ripple to Algorand, Constellation, DAG, that offer a viable solution with a very, very low energy footprint. And I said this again and again. It's very nice that people believe Bitcoin, because it has a limited supply, will ultimately reach a very high valuation. You know, people talk about, for the entire last year, everybody said it's going to be 400,000 by now. Now look where we are. These price predictions have one flaw, is that they look at the supply, which is limited at 21 million Bitcoin, and they think because the supply is limited, ultimately the price has to go up. That's not true. If I limit the supply of postcards in the United States or in Britain, and I say there can only be 21 million postcards, that doesn't mean the price of postcards will go up, because people don't write postcards anymore. So if there is an emerging technology, and I'm looking especially here at Algorand and Stellar and the Constellation as far better solution than blockchain itself. I mean, Bitcoin is a ridiculously outdated blockchain technology. It takes 10 minutes to mint the block. That is not something that a smart city, a smart factory, the data deluge that is coming at us from artificial intelligence, from machine learning, from sensor technology, from space exploration, that data deluge cannot be minted on a blockchain that takes 10 minutes to create the next entry. That's ridiculous technically. So if at one point in the future we agree, okay, Bitcoin was nice, but it's not the wherewithal that we need to solve our technological problems and to decide our future, then there will be no more demand for Bitcoin. And the idea that it will one day be worth $1 million or $10 million per Bitcoin is ridiculous. You can't just decide just because the supply is limited, the demand will continue to grow forever. And this is the fallacy that all the Bitcoin maximalists fall for.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, this is a complete oversimplification.
Totally agree.
Thank you for agreeing with me. Finally, someone. I spent endless hours in Twitter spaces with people yelling at me for not understanding Bitcoin. When you don't understand supply and demand.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I really wish in this space, it's probably best to listen to the least loud voices than it is to listen to the loud voices, especially the ones on Twitter. Because it's really ridiculous.
Television.
Yeah, and television. And that's what I said earlier when I said that crypto has a really bad PR problem. You know, so it's a lot of sensationalism and just not a lot of common sense. Like really. So I mean I totally agree. And then it drowns out the fact that there are more energy efficient solutions. And like even Guapcoin, we use the same staking algorithm. So we don't use mining as well. And it's a low power algorithm. These low power algorithms actually they use so little power, they could be running devices. They can be running IoT devices. They could run inside your television with, you know, using a very little piece of the power that your television is using. So this is where we need to be going in terms of energy efficiency. We don't need to add more load onto what we have. We need to figure out how we can work within what we have to reduce the footprint of energy that we're using, because it's just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous amount of energy. And I know that in the beginning, this probably wasn't, you know, computed in the future plan that it was going to get, you know, so ridiculously crazy in terms of energy. But guess what? Now, you know, there's always time for change. There's always time for pivot and, you know, moving on. And, you know, that's just how it is. So people need to know that Bitcoin is not the end all and be all, of course. And there are other solutions out there that are more in alignment with your own core beliefs. If you believe that we need to be more energy efficient, there's plenty of projects out there that are more energy efficient.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually just had a quick follow-up question from Marc. When you said I'm sorry, Martin. When you talked about the fiat economy, I think. What did you? What is that? What did you mean by that?
Well, look at how we use money now. We go to the bank. There is money in banknotes withdrawn from the ATM. That ATM has to come in a truck. The truck needs a driver. He has a family with a house. The house uses CO2 emissions. The truck emits CO2. The people at the bank are employed to manage the physical money that we have. The entire economy uses money that has to be transported and managed as a physical good. Just as, like Marc said, the cheapest, fastest way to transmit energy is to move Bitcoin over the internet. And the fastest way of payment systems, of transferring millions and billions of dollars between governments and government entities, is to use an electronic system and not send a truckload of dollar bills from building A to building B. So if you put all the energy consumption of all the elements that are needed to have the world work on paper money together.
Fiat money is paper money, by the way. I think that a lot of people don't know that fiat is paper money. That's paper money.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, fiat is paper money. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Thanks, Tavonia.
The answer.
No, that I think this is the comparison that needs to be made. And again, very, very true. Bitcoin is not the end of the road, and I don't think blockchain is the ultimate holy grail of database solutions. I think there are already some on the horizon, like constellations, like Shinfin, the XDC network, that are have far more utility in terms of solving real life problems in trade finance, in customs declarations, in food tracing, in money laundering tracing. We have, for God's sakes, we have NFTs that are being used in human trafficking right now. We need to look at this in a holistic way from every angle. Just because people make money by selling silly pictures of apes through NFTs doesn't mean that they're a good investment, but it also doesn't mean that NFTs are doomed. There are millions of use cases for NFTs. We just presently are stuck in the idea that the picture of an ape in a JPEG is what an NFT is. It's not. It's a transitory phase, and the same is true for Bitcoin and for blockchain and for everything else. Technology is growing exponentially while business grows linear, and this problem is going to get worse by the year. In 10 years' time, technology will move so fast and businesses will be so slow that we need modern, decentralized, much faster, much more responsive system to carry on having economic activity. We can't keep up with technology if we can't make business move faster.
With my role has, because what you just said, it's exactly that. We all need to figure out how to innovate, not only quick enough, but sustainable enough. And I would also like to add, from not just crypto and DeFi perspective, but building spaces like metaverse, it's always a question. Do I want this sophisticated design that engages everyone, attracts everyone, and it's just like super realistic and like in Matrix movie? Or do I want to be sustainable enough and go with low poly, provide the functionality for efficient collaboration and communication and whatever it takes? And this is a coin of two sides, I think. Again, coin. But we, as builders and creators, I think we are the guardians of that huge new galaxy that we're building, and we need to be making the right decisions. And I know that I see Diego Torres here in the audience, who I met in one of the DAO get-togethers, and I call him Jedi because he's the founder of Jedi AI. Are you coming here? Okay. I believe you have a question. Diego, please introduce yourself and ask a question to our speakers.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just my cat was stepping on my keyboard and I was all over the place. Yeah, so I was curious, what do you all think needs to happen for for like developers and regulators to like start playing well with each other? Like some context. I see a lot of developers developing their solutions pretty early on, and then slowly start bringing it to market. But then with regulators come along and then pose like these these limitations to the technology, and that eventually leads to more development time, more production costs, and just like a rethinking of the whole strategy. So what do you think needs to happen so both developers and regulators start like playing like in parallel, like adding to each other as opposed to just like trying to get at each other's throats per se?
Diego, this is Marc here. I'm going to pick this one up, and thanks for the question. So the opinion I will give you is my own opinion and not the opinion of INATBA, the organization I've been working with, where we have a group of nearly 50 governments who sit on our government advisory body. My personal and professional opinion is supervisory tech. And by that, what I mean is there is an opportunity for regulators to fundamentally change the way in which they bring regulation into play in this marketplace. There are opportunities to use the technology that we are developing, that we refer to oftentimes as blockchain, and to get involved in the setting of rules, the monitoring of the processes, the gathering of the data, so that for the first time ever, regulators can be looking forwards and anticipating what's going to happen, or seeing events as they happen instead of what they currently do, which is needing to look backwards at what has happened based on data that they've gathered that proves what's happened, and then relying on being able to identify a legal entity or a legally responsible person to go and catch them, apprehend them, or correct their behaviors. So to my mind, I don't think it's about a mindset. I don't see too much fight between regulators and private sector. What I see is a very big difference in language, level of education, and frankly, the tools that they have to do their jobs. In the private sector, and you sound as though you're very technologically educated, we have an array of tools and technologies and procedures that are changing very, very quickly. And we optimize that to create wonderful innovation and to create value. Regulators don't. They have an arcane system built up over decades, perhaps up to 50 years of regulation that is cumbersome, takes a long time to enact, and frankly, is quite costly for them to use. So I think a good solution going forwards would be the greater use of what I refer to as supervisory technology, which is the use of these technologies we're working on by the regulators to uphold these regulatory first principles, protect consumers, support market integrity, and to deliver a degree of balance sheet protection.
That sounds wonderful. So you would also recommend, I mean, like from a developer standpoint, I guess it's like empathy, because I do see this trend where sometimes we get so lost in the technology, so lost in the technology that we kind of forget that we're speaking that we're not speaking the same language, like in terms of how it is that we're generating value and what processes it like are involved in generating such value, so that way others can understand exactly how what it that we're doing. So I think that sounds really nice. Really.
Yeah, Diego, I think there's a lot in what you've said there from my perspective, and I entirely agree with it. You know, what I see is, and I experience this myself as well, because I'm not a developer, but I have been in this space for quite some time. I see my colleagues getting very frustrated with me because they have a superior technology knowledge. Most of them are, you know, a lot more intelligent than me. They're genuine rocket scientists when you're designing chips and doing things like that. And their frustration sometimes comes from the fact that I'm asking questions that mean they have to go back, you know, 15, 20 paces to explain something really basic to me. And they're frustrated that I don't automatically see it, because sometimes they forget not everyone has, you know, the wonderful gift of intelligence that they're blessed with, nor do they have that technological training and advanced understanding that those guys have got. And then similarly, regulators get equally frustrated, in my experience, because we're asking them to translate their work into terms that we can understand in the private sector. Whereas what they're thinking is, why wouldn't you want us to protect consumers? Because you're asking these questions about how does a DAO get taken into consideration in the regulatory form, because it's neither a legal entity nor are they responsible people. What they're thinking is you're just trying to sidestep the fact that all we want to do is protect consumers. You know, they're not really understanding the reason we're asking questions of the regulators. And that lack of levels of education, the lack of a common language, is what causes, I think, what you referred to earlier, in my experience at least, that manifests itself in antagonistic discussions, or a lack of comprehension, or even what I think is more basic, which is a lack of ability to empathize with each other's position.
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. So I guess moving forward, it's more of a it's more of teamwork, I guess. For example, I can understand why some developers may feel like an antagonized or something, but like for example, like in the U.S., we have the FDIC, right, that regulates how much money is able to like leave a commercial or private bank, which is like, it says that at least 10% of the assets being held can't leave the institution. You know, things like that. Things like that is, I think, that maybe is like missing in some DeFi protocols. Um, so maybe if we have like a framework that we can like, that we can say, oh, this DeFi protocol contains you know, these frameworks, you know, these kinds of standards, and then every developer, every company has like their own flavor based on those frameworks. Maybe that's the solution. Then it will be just a matter of like educating these, you know, like propagating, building awareness of these frameworks to developers, and then that way we can all like play together, and maybe that's the way. Maybe.
Well, there are many. I guess you could say there are frameworks, because these are built on platforms. They're built on ecosystems. So that's why you when we suggested that you join the community, you'll get to know the ecosystem that is built on. You know what I mean? So like, for instance, if you're going to choose Cosmos, right, that's a whole entire ecosystem that has bits and parts that you would consider to be a framework. And they actually have frameworks that plug into those. So they're there. It's probably, you get overwhelmed if you try to look at too many at once, and then you see the many different parts that they have. But it's, you could like just look at one that has many users, or many different platforms running on it. Like I mentioned, Cosmos, right? You can go to one project and you can say, well, this was built on this was built on that, this was built on that. And usually when you see that, that's because they have great frameworks, and they're probably a lot simpler to plug into than others.
Oh, Cosmos. You're speaking to someone from Cosmos.
Yeah, and then you know you have Polkadot, you have all of these different platforms, and they pretty much have, you know, these frameworks baked into that you know people can build upon and improve upon, build platforms and improve upon a platform that's already there, you know, where most of it is open source and it's available in, you know, in GitHub, so you can improve on it.
Yeah, that's a.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just wondering, what's one source of information, one recommendation of a source to that we might not know about to read up and educate ourselves
Well,
about these issues?
depends on what you want to read up on. If you're just trying to learn crypto, there are a few. I would suggest that you actually go into or take one of the intro to crypto classes. Like we have a free crypto class on classrebel.com that I'm actually giving next week. I gave one last week. That was a free crypto mini class. If you're looking for more a deeper dive into DeFi and those parts, Binance Academy is great. I really like the way that Binance Academy is set up. They have a lot of short form articles on various different things that are connected to whether DeFi, crypto, or whatever. I think they did an excellent job at doing that.
In addition to trainings, I would basically recommend to reading the white papers, especially you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and plus even the a little bit, you know, back then, you know, smart contracts, just to know the, you know, to read from the original. Plus, what a little bit makes this it's a little bit difficult to keep up, you know, because you will read book today, tomorrow it will change everything. So basically there will be new information. So that's why, you know, follow some Twitter accounts and you know, follow some new, you know, projects that coming, just to see what innovations out there, because even me, I cannot catch up with the, you know, all these new different projects that's like a, you know, every day coming. And it's a lot. And when you read and learn about those projects, I'm not talking about the, you know, pump and dump schemes, or like it's the projects where there's like a actual utility, you know, actual the platform build. So when you look at that and read the white papers of those projects, you will learn a lot and will be excited.
Also, I wanted to add there's a couple of platforms we're kind of entering, and this is for the new people that are interested. I hear like there are people who are interested in solving various problems, and they may not be coders, but they want to get in and they want to learn how to actually work with the platform. There are some platforms out there like Moralis.io. I think they're really, really great. I actually put my son on there because my son is a game developer, but he knew very little about developing for crypto. So I got him a membership at Moralis University or Academy, what they have. So they have a lot of different modules that teach you how to make things that you want to make. You know, you might decide you want to put together a wallet, or you want to build an NFT marketplace, or you want to, you know, whatever. So if you're looking at doing those types of things, there are platforms for that as well. Don't get so intimidated and don't think that you have to build things from scratch, because nowadays you don't. There are plenty of shortcuts to figuring things out. So, you know, kind of delve into there, you know. So if you're interested, there's a lot of different platforms out there. You can definitely hit me up and I can point you to some things that will help you kind of learn, you know, various different or how to maybe implement a solution on your own. And even if you're not interested in implementing a brand new solution, sometimes it's great to just walk through the process of creating something basic out there so that you can see how it is and it may spark something in you.
And the other thing that I would add is that in addition to reading, try to experience it as well. For example, you can read about the wallets, right? But if you haven't sent any transaction wallet to wallet, it will be a little bit, not complete, and you will not feel it, fully. Or if you're learning about the different loan or borrowing in the DeFi space, just go there, just do small transactions, just feel how it works. Look at the transactions in the Etherscan or like other explorers, just to see what information out there in the blockchain can be stored. So that would be my recommendation. Otherwise, just reading it will be a little bit, I would say not complete. Especially me, I get very excited when actually I tried it, and so that okay, that was what it means.
Yeah, don't be afraid to break stuff. That's what software engineers are, developers. We break stuff. People think that we're perfect and we just know how to do these things and we put it together and it just works perfectly. But they don't understand there's something called bugs. And the bugs start right away. So, don't be afraid to put together something imperfect or to mess something up. That's why some of you need to come on the community development teams and stuff like that, because you're going to learn, you're going to learn how to fix things. You're going to learn how to fix code when you may not even know how to code, but you can learn how to fix things. And that's going to teach you, what you need to build on it. So just don't be afraid, get in.
Hi, these are wise words and a lot of great knowledge shared. I would love to uphold the courage of asking questions and the expertise and the will to answer to them. I think everyone who's watching us right now on Twitter, LinkedIn, and will be watching the videos after at their spare time will benefit greatly. What I want to do to finish, because the time is running out, it's our networking part, Q&A/networking. But there are two things that we usually love to do. Is first one, to take a picture, a group picture that's with the speakers. So please do bring your avatars closer to the speakers. I'll take a screenshot of all of you. It will be great to share later on with your communities. Also, while you're doing that, I would like to say, please do follow our speakers on social channels and ask the questions if you didn't have a chance to ask them today. Follow their wonderful podcasts, videocasts, and yeah, please do rotate facing me, my avatar, clicking on or holding Q button or E button. So I see Christine needs to rotate. Ariana, you would need to rotate. I will make a really nice. Ramon, please also stand in the photo. That would be great to have you in the screenshot. Fantastic. Okay, so Ramona, please move close to Marc. So we'll see Diego. Oh, Diego, move close to Marc. Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, happy people. This is so very nice. Diego, please get closer to Marc. I don't see you behind Ramona yet. Okay, perfect. Yes, as I say, smile and wave, smile and wave. Cheer up. I'm taking a screenshot. Oh yeah, that's the second one with clapping. That would be awesome. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I got it. I'm super excited. Thank you so very much. That will go on social channels. And please do share the events of Decentralized series, the upcoming ones and the past ones with your network, because that's the knowledge shared free of charge. The brightest minds are here usually to discuss, to connect, to learn from one another. And the more people get this chance, the better, because we live our lives only once, and it's best to make a sense out of it and make it all joyful and pleasant. So now, DJ Ramona, please turn on some music for the last 10 minutes. Let's dance, try our moves, and also connect with one another, ask questions if you want. We have the last 10 minutes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Team Evenus, for your support today. Amazing event, I find. And clap to the speakers. Okay.
Bye-bye.
music is skipping. Bye.
Thank you all. Feel free to message me if anything.